And we're back.
What's up, Vic?
Nothing, brother.
Nothing?
No.
Nothing going
Nah.
on?
New
Nothing.
year, old me.
Just nothing happening, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, man. I think all kinds of stuff is going down.
All right. All right. So,
First of all, it's been a little while.
yeah, it's been like what, 3 months?
No, it hasn't been 3 months. It's been about
2 months?
maybe 2 months at most.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 months. So I
Yeah,
guess this
something
is
like
the new
that.
season.
Something like that. Or
All
maybe
right.
kind of like, you know, finishing off the last and starting a new, something like that. A little
Maybe.
segue or something. I
I
don't
don't know.
know. We'll
We'll
see.
figure it out.
Yeah. So, what's up?
Uh, voting.
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 That's
Super Tuesday just passed.
that's what's been happening.
Yes.
Voting. People.
Voting.
Oh yeah, right. I guess like all
Yeah.
these people been falling out of the election
Yeah.
and stuff is
Coming down to the wire.
yeah, coming down to the wire. What did they
Coming down
say?
to.
Oh yeah, it was like the headlines this morning where don't believe what the media is telling you if they're telling you that Bernie Sanders lost last night because there's a chance he could still win or something. I don't know.
I have
It was
no
just
idea. I don't remember seeing that at
no. I
all.
saw. I'm telling you, I saw
Oh.
headlines like that that were just saying like, "Don't believe the media," or maybe these weren't even. Some of the headlines were just kind of saying the turnout. Joe Biden kind of took a lot of the states, and that it was showing that he beat Bernie Sanders, or was beating Bernie Sanders in the primary. So
I
yeah,
haven't been keeping up with the news in the past 3 days.
yeah. Well, you know, it's it. I don't know. It feels like it gets heated up as time passes. You know, things are kind of happening, and it seems like they're getting a little more drastic. It's not the
Yeah.
same politics
Yeah,
that
it's almost like
you know.
it's changed, right? Like
Yeah,
you'd almost say that politics for the longest time has been something that not necessarily everyone kind of indulged in, so it didn't really affect everyone as much. And so it was just like this little group of people that just decided, hey, we're gonna make this part of our lives. We're gonna make careers out of this. We're gonna go ahead and actually do something with this, and and it became this industry, right? It almost became like this whole industry.
pretty much.
Yeah, and then you go ahead and basically like they just basically work within themselves, and they all know what they're doing, and so we kind of give them like, yeah, you're the experts, right? It's like you going your car breaking down and you pulling up to like I don't know an AutoZone and being like, hey, can you check my battery or something? You're the expert, right? You know what I'm saying?
Like you're entrusting them to do what they're supposed
Yeah,
to be doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's just like,
Yeah, that's how it seemed like, back in the day that when they were making decisions, for the most part, they were doing things that were for the greater good. Um, and if it did benefit them, it wasn't like overwhelmingly like, oh, I'm doing this just for, my own personal benefit,
yeah,
Maybe some were, but it just wasn't as impactful on your life or whatever,
mm-hmm.
because it's just from a long time ago versus how things are today. It's like a whole new yeah, we're definitely into a whole new era of how things just occur.
Yeah,
And so with the elections, it's like, back then you didn't know when stuff was negatively impacting you until
yeah,
years afterwards. But right now it's like you can feel it, you can
yeah,
see stuff, you can just stuff's coming out
yeah.
by the minute.
So at this point, I guess we should say in this new season or wherever we left off, this is material basically not safe for work, so you might not want to be playing this out loud. But basically, all I'm going to say is that, up until I would say 2008, I would say, or maybe even 2000, that your vote didn't matter. Your
Okay,
vote did
yeah.
not matter then.
So yeah, the turning point was probably about that point. I remember that time um, when that's when Obama was running for president. I guess it was right before. I can't remember when exactly, but um, he was all over the place and he was having speeches and he came through San Marcos, Texas, and I went to go see him
Mm-hmm.
and it waited in this big old long line and it started getting a little cold and stuff and but yeah, you know, his speech that he told, it was inspiring, you know. It was like, oh my god, like this election is going to transform how things happen in America, you know. Only thing it really did is say that a person of color could become president.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we, you know, a lot of people were upset because it was like, what? You're voting for him because he's black? Yes. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Like, we need to change
What?
the idea of things, how things operate in, you know, here in America. And this is how we're going to start. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
was our idea. And that, I think it was like, you know, I didn't think of it as as an extreme idea because it felt like, you know, America was equal and that this is just something that needed to catch up. And a lot of the sided people, I think, took that as a punch, you know, punch to the gut. Like we were um, on the verge of doing something that would really, really transform this country. And that would go against their beliefs in the fact that people of color would be determining in what direction this country is going in. And just that alone made them rise up.
Yeah.
And for like 8 years, while the Democrats and progressive people were, you know, just all kind of jolly because Barack was
Yeah.
president, you know,
Yeah.
like, yes, this is great. And then, you know, when Joe Biden decided he wasn't going to run, and her only option was Hillary Clinton, and her opposition was Trump. We were, you know, most people were like, it doesn't matter if you vote. I mean, the Democrats are going to win. We're on a high.
Yeah.
And somebody like Trump, no, there's no way. When in reality, the whole time these 8 years are passing, and we're all kind of just laughs and giggles, the right-sided group started to emerge slowly, and where we're kind of gearing up on the opposite end, and we're like, no, we're gonna go ahead and decide what kind of change that this country's gonna go in, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And that kind of spawned this whole Trump support, you know, all his
This
fan
MAGA
base,
country.
yeah,
This MAGA
his
land.
MAGA country. It was like, where did these people come from, you
They've
know?
always been there. Like, well, I wouldn't even say, because when most people think of Trump supporters, they usually think of these old kind of racist white people that live in the country and this and that with the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not. In fact, a lot of them are just regular people that just don't want to side with the Democrat Party. Like, for example, we live here in Pueblo, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
This is MAGA country.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and so
Well, like I said, it's like they're not gonna support a colored person,
so
black
they're gonna
person,
go ahead
right?
and
They're
support.
just like,
Yeah, and
no,
that's what
I'm
I'm getting.
I'm not gonna have a black president. So,
Yes, but again, what a lot of them signed up for is not necessarily what they signed up for, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
And so, in the sense that this is MAGA country, a lot of people who voted for Trump will go ahead and say, "Yeah, I voted for Trump. You know why? Because he went ahead and he's not a Republican." And it's like, what? Okay, and it's like, but they would also go ahead and say, hey, if you got any plastic or anything, or whatever, I'm gonna head over to the recycle here, and if you got any plastic, I'll take them, so that way you don't have to throw them away. We can recycle and save
Mm-hmm.
Earth or whatever.
So they have
Yeah, and
mixed
it's like,
beliefs in that.
what?
Yeah, they'll kind of
Huh?
protect the environment, but they're not willing to transform the country and having immigrants, almost
Yeah,
immigrants and minorities in high positions, you know,
yeah,
making the laws of the country.
yeah.
So they put it into the hands of someone like Trump, and um, they really stand behind the things that he believes, that he promotes. Like
Mm-hmm.
abortion, no abortions, building the wall. They love that. That was like, I was thinking, what did this guy, what was he selling? What was this whole deal, other than being like, I'm not a politician.
And I'm a racist. What else are you selling me?
Right, and it was like
It's
the
a,
wall,
the
right?
wall.
And it was,
Selling you a
and there's
wall.
like this big, it put a big divide between um uh non-immigrants, people here in America, and Americans versus people that are immigrants and or support immigration, or immigrants living in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets to a point where it's like, now it feels like you're picking sides. You know, you kind of we kind of pulled away from voting from these people that had these centralized beliefs, and one
Didn't
side,
go too far one way or too far another way.
yeah, one side went right a little bit, the other side went left a little bit.
Your vote didn't matter.
And they didn't go too extreme. And again, their um the stuff that they were doing, the negative impacts, they weren't as direct, I guess. Um, and you just didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is just, you just didn't know about it until after the fact.
Yeah.
And now in this day and time where we're just knowing about everything in real time, and you can determine um, what kind of representation you want.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
that you can look back in time and
mm,
see, prior
right. Any kind of
whatever
archive, yeah,
activity. Yeah.
right, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is that now, and up to this point, it's just happening in real time. You know what I'm saying? Where you don't have to necessarily try to, back uh, with the politics that our old traditional politics. That was the thing. These things would come out. You would look back, be like, "Wait, what? This happened?" And all this stuff would be like out there, or they would start finding it out, but it was never really out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you kind of got to go back and try to figure it out. But now in real time, you know what's happening. You know
Yeah.
what's going on. So you want that representation. You want something that's um, representing you, going to the extremes,
Mm-hmm.
even some of the extremes that you believe in. You're like, yes, we need that.
Yeah.
Especially when the opposition feels like, on whatever side, the opposing side, they just, one side does one extreme thing, the other side starts to go extreme as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, and it's basically like at this point now your vote kind of does matter, in the sense that no matter what way you choose, someone's gonna get mad, and if you
Right.
don't vote, then everyone else is gonna get mad, and you essentially have to pick a side. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have to
Like,
pick a
yeah, it's
side.
getting extreme. People are in the middle, like, I don't like Trump, but it's like, what do you mean, but? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, they got beliefs that are going in one direction, and then they got beliefs that are going in another direction. And depending on their situation, their living situation, that's going to depict which way they're going to lean. Are they going with this kind of like extreme, almost like it's real crazy. I don't even know how exactly to describe it, but it's like definitely on the right side. It's a bunch of white power and traditional kind of stuff like no abortions. They probably oppose gay marriage, but they don't say it very openly. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
I mean, isn't that how it's always been?
Yeah, but he's rewriting law at this point. They're rewriting laws and they're setting up. They're stacking the other. Um,
The other people against themselves.
yeah, like they're stacking. No, like So you have checks and balances in the government, right?
Oh, and so basically he's taking all the power for
Yes.
himself at this
Yes.
point. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, yeah, that pretty much is basically how it's gonna work. I mean, what is it? Isn't aren't most of all his people appointed just not qualified to do their jobs? I mean, like a vast majority of them,
like
and
you've
they're all in
seen
positions
like
of
you've seen
way high power.
how people around him have been indicted, and then he's coming back and trying to save them.
Hmm.
Like they get in trouble, and for what? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's power. It's that at this point uh they're doing things that have never been done before.
Hmm.
Like I said, they're impacting you in ways that are it's just never happened. And because we know about this stuff right away as soon as it happens in real time, it's like, wait, what? What's going on? Like, you don't want that kind of representation to
Yeah,
continue, you know?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess if you're leaning one way or another, you kind of have to vote in this next coming up elections, the next coming up elections, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, yeah, even though that you're saying you may be talking about what you believe in or whatever, you're gonna get some people that are upset.
Yeah,
You know, it's a real
so
crazy,
it is.
yeah, time that we're living in. But yes, you have to decide and how things were and where exactly you want. Where we want them to be in the future. So yeah,
Vote wisely. Vote wisely.
yes, these are the primaries, and those just kind of sort of tell you where things are at. But coming in November is the real deal, and we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
yeah.
Alrighty,
All right.
till next time.
See ya.